I just rewatched 26 episodes of a show I absolutely hated. And you know what? I'm actually glad I did.
Every time, everywhere I don't know, let me go.
Rosario plus Vampire. My god, did I have a disgustingly sour history with this show. I was actually watching it back to make a rant review because, well, thought it would be fun. And worth the torturous sessions of rewatching this abomination again. And now, well, my perspective's changed a bit. That doesn't mean I think it's good. God, no. Just look at this. I mean, this looks like something I can make in Photoshop. Wait, Icarus? What the hell are you doing in there? But despite the show being as much of a train wreck as it is, I don't hate it anymore. I can find problems in anything I look at, and it takes quite a lot for me to harbor hatred for something. In fact, the only hatred I felt by the end of this watch session was for my past self. And that's because I betrayed an ideology I try and stick with whenever I critique something. And that ideology is, judge something for what it is, not what you want it to be. It's an ideology I'd like to see carry over to other reviews, but it's not often I see this in practice. Hell, I'm a bit guilty of it as well, honestly. A fantastic example of this, and also an appropriate segue for a video about a harem, would be the critique on fan service. I'll expose some bias and say that it doesn't really bother me most of the time. It's not because I actively want it or think it enhances the plot. It's honestly just something I don't pay attention to at this point. Despite this bias, I can judge a show for using its fan service badly, but let's look at this from the opposite perspective, the perspective of someone who absolutely despises it in all forms. I tend to notice they don't set aside this bias and will harshly critique fan service even when it's used with some sort of purpose or as a central part of the show. But this is the direction some take looking at things like Kill La Kill. I honestly don't know what you expect with a show that's advertised like this, or a synopsis like girl in skimpy outfit scissors people and learns the true power of nudity. Okay, I'm paraphrasing very selectively. Anyway, my point is, if you judge a show based too much on some personal expectations, you're not going to enjoy it, and you will often miss the entire point or appeal of whatever it is you're looking at. And if you bring the overall score down due to something you personally didn't like, you end up with infamous examples like this.
Moist.
So how does this tie into Rosario Vampire? You see, there's a specific reason I hated Rosario. It's not because it's repetitive, the fact it doesn't respect your intelligence, or even for its incredibly low quality presentation. It's because, initially, the show actually offended me. Not due to the sexual nature of the show, but because I thought this show offered an absolutely skewed moral in its ending. An ending I'm absolutely going to spoil the hell out of, by the way. I guess I'll leave a timestamp when I get to it, but... come on. Do you really think you're missing out? If nothing else, I could promise you that the plot is not what you should watch this show for.
Sorry, but I've got some balls to go grab.
Anyway, let's take a look into my mind from a few years ago to see what disgusted me so much. So in brutally quick summary, our main female character, Mocha, is a vampire. She has two identities, and the one that is her more vampiric form is suppressed by this rosary, hence the name of the show. Our main character, Skune, is, well, a harem protagonist. That's really all I can say. He's kind of bland. He goes to the school for monsters, yet he is a human, which is the whole gimmick of the show. He forms a harem with this vampire, a succubus, a loli witch, and an ice girl. With that out of the way, we can move on to those last 3 episodes. Here's that timestamp to skip spoilers, I guess. Mocha has to leave her rosary as a power source to support the magical barrier protecting the school and keeping it hidden. And by doing so, this bright, cheerful version of Mocha essentially doesn't exist, and we only get this true vampiric form of Mocha. Okay, I'm just going to refer to them by Strawberry Mocha and White Mocha so this doesn't get confusing. Anyway, all we have now is White Mocha, who's like the polar opposite of Strawberry Mocha. She's cold, emotionally subdued, and just more mean-spirited. So naturally, I found her to be more interesting. Maybe that's where my initial bias stemmed from. Anyway, the point is, White Mocha is also attracted to Skune and is legitimately trying to flirt and talk with him. And all he can really think of is Strawberry Mocha, which I can't really blame him for, but... And this is where my hatred begins to spawn from. White Mocha essentially tells Skune that Strawberry Mocha was a facade. A form that suppressed White Mocha's true nature and showed a more caring and nice beverage. So basically at this point I think, oh, so this is going to turn into a topic of loving someone for who they really are, or something like that. Nope. I don't know what the hell I expected. Of course he finds a way to turn her back. Of course he has no problem doing so. And of course, the show doesn't even really address what I was thinking. So Baby Urban is thinking, okay, so this show wants to completely fuck over this girl for not being her true self. Set the story in a direction that makes pretending to be something you're not to be a positive thing, and then just end with a happy ending where no one learns a fucking thing? Are you kidding me? That's just awful and actually a potentially harmful thing to preach. It's at this point where Baby Urban thought back on everything leading up to this and felt like his time had been wasted. He remembered how terribly put together everything was, letting the feeling dwell within him for years. He decided that this was the anime he hated more than anything else. And it's not until this recent rewatch where he realized he completely missed the point. I always try and make an effort to rewatch anything I make a video on, and boy am I glad I didn't jump the gun and actually look back at this show. You see, Skune wasn't being selfish and giving White Mocha the cold shoulder. He actually viewed both of these mocha flavors as individuals. He was going to bring back Strawberry Mocha, not just because it was his favorite, but because he didn't want to be without either flavor.
And if you skip the spoiler, I'm sorry that this is confusing.
I was so dead set on my assumption and how the show should have handled this situation that I didn't even hear the lines about wanting to preserve both versions of the character. The blinders were already on, and I already made up my mind. See, that's what's nice about changing perspective and expectations. The difference in the second watch was that I watched it drunk with the sole purpose of making fun of it, and I had a blast actually. The show had so many terrible and confusing moments that I often found myself nearly dying from laughter. There was some fantastic unintentional comedy here. I was eventually experiencing some burnout in season 2, but because of the state I was in, I was able to view it again with zero expectations, and now this ending doesn't bother me. This perspective shift has lifted this weight of hatred off my shoulders, and honestly, that's something I want you to take away from this video. It's not a bad idea to revisit something again to see how you look at it now. This is my personal example of this, and now I could almost recommend the show. I mean, for ironic enjoyment at least. After revisiting this series, my hatred turned into laughter. I fell into a zen-like state, and now I feel like I'm better because of it. So go on and look back at some of the dumb shit you hated and laugh at it. It can honestly be a great experience. Thanks for watching, guys. Though I'm usually a bit more positive, I would like to look at some more bad shows or games in the future. It sounds like fun. So tell me what you guys hated or think would be fun to rant on. And consider subscribing if you like this sort of content. Also consider hitting the bell for notifications if you want, well, notifications. Alright, thanks again, guys. I'll see you next video. Giving White Mocha the cold shoulder. Why can't I say